600,000 people go missing in the United States each year. Tens of thousands remain mysteriously missing.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Mysteriously Missing. I'm Justine.
I'm Karen. You know, each episode we try to highlight cases that do need public attention. And we will continue to bring these episodes that honor these missing people and their families, even if the information provided is brief or lacking in details. And today we have another case that does not have a lot of information. So this episode highlights a 27-year-old that went missing on the Mexican border in California.
We are going to be talking about Jonathan Arash Barmaki. He has been missing since April 30th of 2016. Now, Jonathan disappeared after leaving his home in Buena Park, California on April 30th. He apparently left home at approximately 3 o'clock that afternoon without saying anything to his mother, whom he lived with. He took his 15-year-old dog, Sandy, and he has never been heard from again.
Buena Park is in Orange County, California, and that's about 20 miles south of Los Angeles. His car ended up in Jacumba Hot Springs on the U.S.-Mexico border in San Diego County. And Jacumba, spelled Jacumba, is a brush area surrounded by hillside, very desolate, very isolated.
Right. Now, his car that he was driving was a 2013 Honda Civic, and we're not sure if it was a 2-door or a 4-door car, but we do know it was a Honda Civic. He was wearing a black t-shirt and dark blue sweatpants, and in the Target surveillance video, which we'll kind of talk about, he did have a gray pullover sweater on. Jonathan did not have any piercings or tattoos that we know about, and his mother stated he had no history of mental illness, and he seemed happy at the time of his disappearance. And he also loved his dog and would not have voluntarily left his dog behind. Now, his date of birth is May 16th, 1988, so he would be 30 today, but 31 this year. He was 27 years old when he went missing, and he's about 5'11" and weighs 185 pounds. Jonathan has red hair and brown eyes.
Yeah, and his hair doesn't really look that red to me in the videos. It's more like a light brown.
Right.
But I'm sure it has red tints to it.
Mm-hmm. Now, he does have eyeglasses that he wears, and he is biracial. He's Caucasian and of Persian and Mexican descent.
His mom is Luisa Barmaki, who he lives with, and she's a real estate agent at Century 21. His uncle, who you can also see on a video clip, it's the only news video clip we could find of him. It's in Spanish, and it's called Primer Impacto. And his uncle's name is Trino Hernandez. And then also on there is Miguel Castro, and they're calling him a deputy of special investigations, but we would probably say PI,
right,
or private investigator.
Yeah.
And Jonathan also worked as a real estate agent, it's reported. And sources say he was a professional house flipper. So he may have worked or collaborated with his mom.
Starting this timeline, though, it started April 30th of 2016. So this was a Saturday. And around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Jonathan grabbed his keys and left his home. He lives with his mother, like we stated, in Buena Park. Jonathan did not say goodbye to his mom, but his mom didn't think anything of it. He seemed happy and he seemed to be in a good place, she said. And we wanted to insert a clip from this video that we're talking about, the Primer Impacto video. So here's an audio clip of Jonathan's mom talking on this video.
And you can hear how anguished she is, yes.
Todo estaba normal, tranquilo, no discusiones, no pleitos con nadie. Un día de lo más normal.
So basically, his mom was saying that everything was normal, quiet, no arguments, and it seemed like a normal day. So it sounds like nothing out of the ordinary between them, you know.
Yeah, he leaves the house normally without telling her. He's 27 years old, and they just kind of live together.
Right. So
it's expensive in LA area, and so of course a lot of people live with their folks or rent a room from other folks. Mm-hmm.
Now investigators determined that Jonathan bought dog food and 2 pet bowls at a PetSmart store in Encinitas, California, and this is 75 miles south, or about an hour and a half drive from Buena Park, and this is right after he had left home. So he went directly to PetSmart and bought these, dog food and dog bowls.
Or started on the road and decide to go.
Right. Now, 6.5 hours later, surveillance video shows Jonathan at the Target at Plaza Bonita Mall in National City, California. And this is around 9:30 at night. This mall is 100 miles south of Buena Park, or about a 2-hour drive. So he drove another 25 miles to Target, and it was determined that he bought toiletries, a phone charger, and some clothes.
Okay, so that's Saturday night, 9:30. Now Sunday morning, he was seen by another surveillance camera at the Valero gas station in National City, and that's 5 miles north of the Target. And that was around 5 a.m. And that is the last location that he was caught on camera. 18 hours later, and we're guessing around 11 at night, Jonathan's 2013 Honda Civic was found abandoned by Border Patrol agents along Old Highway 80 near the welcome sign to Jacumba Hot Springs in California. This is 70 miles east of the Valero gas station where he was last seen on camera, and it's in a remote and desolate area. It's a very short distance from the Mexican border. In fact, there were footprints leading to the wall. The car had plenty of gas, and it was locked with the windows rolled up. Now, inside the car was Jonathan's cell phone, the dog food, the 2 bowls he bought, and Sandy, his dog. Sadly, the dog was dead. Apparently, they're saying of natural causes. His keys and wallets were missing. There was no sign of Jonathan, but there were footprints, as I said, in the dirt. I don't know how they determined it was him.
Yeah, that's hard. I mean, we didn't even know what shoes he was wearing.
Right. Or did they? And, and it looked like when you see pictures of that walls, there's a lot of footprints in the sand, like people might get out and walk around that area. Mm-hmm. But they were 70 feet leading to the wall, 70 feet from the car to the border fence, and that border fence is 25 feet high. Sources say Jonathan was not familiar with the San Diego area, where he was down in the Target in the Valero gas station, and it's unknown what might have brought him to Jacumba Hot Springs. His mom started to get worried when he didn't answer his phone.
So now it's Monday, and it's Monday morning around 3 o'clock. There was a knock at Luisa's door. This is his mom. Police told her that Jonathan's 2013 Honda Civic was found with plenty of gas on the side of Old Highway 80, and this is just a few feet from the welcome sign in Jacumba Hot Springs. When she heard that, in front of the seat was her son's 15-year-old dog, Sandy, who had sadly passed away. She stated, "My heart just broke because I knew they were best friends and Jonathan would never, ever leave his dog." His mom had said that her biggest fear is that her son has been hurt or taken by someone. Not knowing the fate of her son is torture. "I've been praying a lot," she said. Per the PI, they checked the hospitals and police in order to see if the young man could have had an accident, but that had no results.
Yeah, and that was on Primer Impacto video where the PI is speaking, and we just had that translated.
Right.
And yeah, I guess they did all the checking and said, where is he? And with no results, so... The weather really wasn't a factor that day. It was 85 at a high, which it can get a little hot, but that's not too hot.
Right.
And 60 at night. 60 is a low, so that really wasn't anything to consider.
Yeah, it wasn't pouring rain or anything. Mm-hmm. Now, we wanted to add this article, and it was written by ABC 15 out of Arizona, and it was published on May 15th of 2018. We wanted to add this because this is the location that he went missing in. Now, back in the 1920s and 30s, Jacumba was a Hollywood hotspot. Locals say W.C. Fields, Lewis Brooks, Clark Gable, even President Roosevelt all used to come here for the natural hot springs that flow from deep in the earth.
At that time, that was as far as a car could go in the 20s and 30s, from L.A. to the hot springs and back, so it was a popular destination.
The Jacumba Public Library still has pictures of the old days, including the Grand Hotel that eventually burned to the ground, never to be rebuilt again. Boarded up buildings and broken windows are all that's left of some of the local businesses. Interstate 8 also bypassed this town, and many locals moved on long ago. Those who are left remember the other blow this small border town just couldn't recover from, the extension of the border fence from one edge of the town to the other. They say it had changed the character of this community and brought in professional smugglers and feared the cartel.
Border Patrol agents are a big presence here. They sit on virtually, according to this article, every hilltop, and their trucks are a common sight on the roads in and around Jacumba. Apprehensions of illegal border crossers in this sector are up 33% compared to 2017. While some locals question the impact the extended fencing has had on Jacumba and the neighboring Mexican town of Jacume, even critics say it's too late to go back to the way this town was before. Too much has changed, and they accept the border now runs through here. So why would Jonathan end up in this remote area that is kind of closed down?
Just from the story, I mean, we don't have a lot of information on this at all, but it almost seemed like it was planned a little bit because he stopped and got dog food. He got, bowls for his dog. Then he stopped and got a phone charger and clothes and toiletries. And I'm not saying maybe he had planned to go to this exact location, but maybe he had planned to go like camping or something because he's picking up things that you would need almost every day.
And the other thing I was thinking of is maybe it wasn't planned. Maybe he started on the road. He's got the dog in the car. He started south, didn't know where he was driving, just needed a break. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden he ends up 75 miles south of his town, says, oh, and wait a minute, I got to take care of the dog. I forgot the dog bowls and the dog food.
Right.
Picks that up at PetSmart or wherever he went. And then I don't know how it took so long to get down to Target that night at 9:30.
Yeah.
That was another few hours. But, he's still making, it's almost like he's making bad decisions. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, now I better get some other stuff because I'm going to stay out all night.
Right.
So it's like he kept changing his mind.
Right. And we talked about how overnight he was last seen on surveillance video. Mm-hmm. Where did he stay that night?
Right. So when we were looking it up, we looked at the Walmart, and you can sleep in a Walmart parking lot.
Okay.
But I'm not saying that you can sleep in Target parking lot. Or did he just pull over on a side road and sleep in the car with the dog somewhere, which a lot of people do.
Right.
Yeah, and it just seems like, I don't know, he wasn't thinking clearly. Now, was it the dog that maybe was getting sick? It's 15 years old, and he was starting to freak out. He seems like a very quiet, mm-hmm. reserved young man with not maybe a lot of interaction with others and friends and things. Mm-hmm. And if you're that attached to your dog, and your dog is starting to, fail.
Right.
And did he take the dog and say, this is going to be a last hurrah?
That's what I was kind of thinking. Maybe he had planned on taking it, on a little last road trip together, just them
or
two.
Just out to the beach in Long Beach across from Buena Park. But then he started on the highway, headed south, then just started evolving into more and more, I have to get the dog food, I have to get the charger and things.
He did fill up a full tank of gas, though. So at some point, he determined that he was going to be driving.
And then he went 70 miles. So was he still? I guess he was still full from that one Bolero.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To Jacumba. But the other thing is, was he abducted at that point?
I know. Yeah.
Because why would you head that way to that desolate area? Did the dog pass away in the car, and then he just kind of freaked out, pulled over, got out of the car, just took off
needed
walking.
A break maybe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, my other thought is if he is abducted or was abducted and somebody is in his car with a gun to his head, I mean, you just have to kind of go where that person wants you to go.
Right. And if they pull into a gas station and the guy is abducting him or whoever, and as aware of cameras, they could be hiding in the back seat. I mean, that's a possibility. Then let's drive to the Mexico border because I want to get, into Mexico. And we looked at pictures of that wall. There's breaks in it.
Yeah.
I mean, it hits rocks and little hills, and it stops. And so you can just climb over that and get through to Mexico. So it's odd that it was so close to the Mexico border. Mm-hmm. I mean, within 70 feet, you can be in Mexico.
Exactly. Now, what if he did because he was in real estate a little bit. We talked about him working as a realtor or flipping houses. Mm-hmm. And if there was a bad deal that went down, but did he get involved with the wrong people and then was trying to do a deal heading south, and then it just, it went
sour. So
he loved his dog so much. It's hard to think, like, why would he leave his dog in the car? The windows are rolled up.
it just feels a lot like something with the dog and the age. You know, if it was a young dog, but, you know, maybe the dog did pass and he kind of had a mental breakdown. Mm-hmm. He lived kind of a quiet life, and he, you know, was a house flipper, which is income that is not steady.
Right.
You know, you invest, it depends on the market, you know, so he wasn't getting a monthly salary, living with his mom, which we talked about, in an expensive area that is not abnormal. And, you know, and maybe he was suffering. He's at that age, 27, where you're like, okay, what am I going to do the rest of my life? Is my life working? And maybe he got into a depression and thus, you know, just when the dog maybe started to go, because the dog was found dead.
Right.
And they did say natural causes. So it's not like it died of heat stroke in a car. I think they would have said that. So it feels like almost the dog died on that trip, and yet the trip wasn't even planned. He just kept going.
Well, and that's why when I think of like him being hijacked or someone abducting him, you know, if someone wanted his car, let's say,
to get into Mexico?
Not necessarily, but just
steal his car.
Let's say someone saw him at the gas station and said, I'm going to, you know, jump this guy and take his money, and, you know, so they hid in the back of his car.
It does get edgy down there in National City where he was in. It's reported that can be a little edgy, yes.
Yeah, now, if somebody did that, I just don't see how they would have left the car behind, because now you're also in like a deserted, you know what I mean? Like you have to walk too.
Right.
I don't know.
Unless they're trying to get into Mexico, and it's easier on foot than with a car.
True. So then maybe they stopped right there at the border and
But a lot of times it's easier to get into Mexico than it is to get into the U.S. So are we the wrong way? And
yeah, I don't know. It's just, it's so weird. It's just such a small timeline.
It is. And if he went voluntarily missing, like he said, okay, I'm just going to take my dog, go start a new life, whatever, go into maybe he went into Mexico. Maybe that's where he is. The dog died and he just said, I'm crossing the border. I'm going to start a new life. You know, that's a possibility as well, because he did buy a phone charger. He kind of set it up like he wanted to leave his stuff at home, like he was really coming back, but he actually didn't, because he bought stuff he kind of needed.
He seemed close with his mom. I mean, she seemed so worried about him. You know, it's not like...
Yeah, she seems like they had a very good relationship. And like she said, he's leaving the house. That's normal. He doesn't say goodbye. They like two independent lives in the same house, respectful of each other. So that's probably not an issue. But... You know, did he leave his toiletries and stuff behind and have to buy them later because he was not planning on leaving, or did he want it to look that way?
That's why I was kind of thinking maybe he didn't really plan on it until he was like halfway down the road and thought, it
seemed like it just kept evolving.
Right.
And then maybe something went foul play.
Yeah.
Got involved. So his Facebook page is Help Find Jon John. And there's a few followers on there. And then the investigating agency is Buena Park Police Department. And their phone number is 714-562-3902. And he seems like a really nice, caring, kind, quiet young man.
He looks really sweet in his pictures.
Yeah, he does. He has a kind face. And his mom is just devastated. His uncle's doing what they can, and then they hired the PI and are checking things out down in the San Diego area. But anybody who has any information or saw this young man, please do contact the Buena Park Police Department.
Yeah, and you can always contact us at mysteriously.missing411@gmail.com. We'll have pictures on Instagram, but like I said, there's not a lot on this case. We don't have many pictures, but...
Yeah, and even bringing up news videos or anything, it was only that Spanish one, which we had partially interpreted, and... it's not a lot of information, but a very, very interesting case.
It is very interesting. I think somebody has to know something out there. I mean, it just seems so unusual. So if you do have any information, even if you want to be anonymous, just call, just help this family out. This mom's looking for her son. Yes. But we appreciate you guys listening. So thank you so much.
Thank you.